What's up guys, Darkdally here, playing Ghost Recon Wildlands, and today I want to continue our little immersion rules series that I've been doing, where we kind of started off laying some ground rules to get some more immersion in Ghost Recon Wildlands. You guys gave me a lot of input, we kind of went from there, and now I want to go back to kind of what we did in the first video. I want to take, where I laid out the top 8 tricks, and I'll have a link to that down in the description below, and I want to combine that with some of the ideas you guys have given me, and come up with what I've been playing with over this last week or two and refining as a really good core set of rules to play the game and really feel immersed in it. One viewer had a great suggestion for immersion, and that's that since pretty much everyone agrees that it's best to only resupply at rebel checkpoints, like up here for instance, and I'm going to kind of expand on that here just a little bit and kind of make it my own. So thanks a lot for this idea, because this really got my brain thinking, is when you change your loadout, let's say that you could take one extra weapon and you could keep it in your car. For instance, here I've chosen to use the MP5 and the AK-12. Let's say I think on my mission I may want a sniper rifle. So since I'm at a rebel checkpoint, I would allow myself to take the sniper rifle and put it in this car here. And so long as I have this car and it doesn't get blown up or destroyed or anything, I still have access to that weapon if I want to return to this car. And then I can change my loadout, but I can only change my loadout by swapping in that weapon. You guys see what I'm saying? I think it's a really cool idea. One viewer kind of suggested that, and I kind of tweaked it, and that's what I came up with. I think that's a great idea. There's no reason, since I'm at a rebel checkpoint and I have a car, there's no reason I couldn't take a weapon, put it in here, carry it to the next place where I'm doing my mission, and then return to the car and allow myself to change to that weapon. That's a cool idea that can give you some more flexibility with your loadout, because some of these immersive rules that I'm going to show here in this video to make the game more fun also make it a little more restrictive in some ways. Another thing which I would like to put out there, I would suggest, this is something I just kind of always done myself, but with my first character I didn't have the balls to do it. I was too chicken. This, of course, is a new character that I've been playing fully immersive through the game. And this idea is don't take the advanced suppressor skill. I was tempted not to take it on my first character, but my first playthrough of the game, I really did want to get, and do everything, and so I did. I'd suggest, if you have the opportunity, don't take advanced suppressor. The reason being, if you don't have this skill, okay, so this skill removes the damage reduction of suppressors. Now, granted, suppressors will still lower your penetration stat on your weapons, but this does take away the damage reduction, which means you can basically run them all the time, But of course, running suppressors all the time isn't necessarily immersive. So my idea is this: if you don't take that skill, then you have to think every time you infiltrate a base, because you're taking a damage penalty every time you run a suppressed weapon. It makes you think, and it makes you strategize more, and even think more about what you put into your loadout. A lot of times I have a loadout like, well, what I have right here. I have an assault rifle, probably with a compensator on it, and then I have a suppressed MP5. Because I don't have that skill, my MP5 is going to do less damage, and if stuff does happen to hit the fan, I know that I can switch to this, get the full damage and everything out of this weapon. So that's one kind of cool idea. I suggest don't take the advanced suppressor skill. If you really want immersion, suspense of disbelief is definitely required, but that's part of what goes into immersion. Alright, so let's move on to the next one, guys. The next one I want to talk about is what kind of backpack you have. This came from a viewer. I don't want to say the wrong name, but you know who you are. He's got a couple ideas I really liked, and I've kind of, again, expanded upon that. Let's go to my appearance here, and let's go down to backpacks. The idea being that you can only use certain accessories when you have certain backpacks equipped. Again, this adds more strategy to your loadout. It's the whole idea of this is for immersion and adding stuff into the gameplay. So here's the rule I'm putting out here, is that you can only use your drone if you have the drone backpack, and you can only call in rebel support, your radio. You can only call in rebel support if you're using one of the radio backpacks. I restricted to this backpack here, the ANPRC 150, or this one looks, I like the look of this one too. They added this one with the disruptor. I like this one. It has the big antenna on it. So, I allow myself to use rebel support only if I'm using one of these radio backpacks with the big antenna on it, or, well, this is obviously a radio pack here. And I only allow myself to use the drone if I have the drone backpack. Now that's cool, because you never need both. In fact, you could do without either. But this allows you to choose and plan for your mission and say, okay, this mission I'm going to use the drone, but I can't call in rebel support. And the next one, say you think I might need mortar strike on this mission or something like that, or I might need to call for rebel backup. Plan ahead and carry a radio with you. I think that's a really cool idea there. Okay, the next thing, my next rule is the kind of weapons you carry in your loadout. What I decided is I can have one long gun, a smaller gun, and then obviously a pistol. In other words, I could have an AR and a submachine gun, or I could have a sniper rifle and a submachine gun, or I could have an LMG and a submachine gun, or I could have an assault rifle and a shotgun. I decided to make that rule because I realized shotguns were kind of left out of the thing, and I don't think that's a bad idea for a weapon combination. Maybe I'd want to make one of these more compact to kind of conform to that rule, but I think that's a cool idea if you allow yourself, so say my character does not have the carry weight or space available to carry a light machine gun and a sniper rifle, and restrict yourself. Or if you want to carry a sniper rifle, then you're restricted to having like a submachine gun. If you want to have an assault rifle, then I can't have a sniper with it. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pick my MP5 back up. This character does not have a whole lot of weapons available to select for him. So I'm going to go ahead and say, this is the weapon I'm going to use in my offhand. I'm going to use the MP5. And this is one kind of thing that led me to, it was rule number one, is that, okay, but what if I think I may need a sniper rifle? Well, I can, since I'm at a rebel outpost, I can go over here, just pretend I'm taking one out of my loadout or whatever, and place it in this car, and so long as I can keep this car and get back to it, then I can swap a sniper rifle in. But if I lose this car, I lose the ability to do that. So that kind of feeds into rule number one. And I think it's kind of a cool idea. Again, just like the no advanced suppressor skill, it makes you think about your loadout and plan for what may be ahead. Well, that's kind of the point to all of these. Same with the backpack thing. All right, so let's move on to the next one here. This was another idea proposed. I liked it so much, I'm just going to adapt it straight over, but I do have one more thing I'll add to it. And that's only use night vision goggles using this helmet. Now, of course, when I put that out there, I didn't realize it was from DLC. As I said in the previous video, this helmet was added to that DLC pack after I purchased it. So it just kind of showed up in my inventory, and I didn't know where it came from. I did learn that, this helmet is indeed DLC, and not everyone has it. So we can make some modifications to the only use night vision rules. We can say, if you don't have this helmet, you can say only use night vision with your binoculars. That makes sense, right? A couple of viewers, I believe, mentioned that. That makes sense. Only use night vision with your binoculars. Or, again, since I do have this helmet, I say I can only wear night vision if I have this helmet equipped. So then that just kind of becomes an empty rule. If you follow what I'm saying, there's nothing to balance it against. So that's going to go into the next rule. I guess this may as well just be one thing altogether. I decided to come up with another option. So let's say this. Let me just cut to the chase here. So let's say if I'm wearing this helmet, I can have night vision. If you don't have the helmet, you could just say only with binoculars or makeup, whatever kind of other thing you want. Then I go to the next rule. The next rule is I'm going to say that I have some extra space in my backpack to carry one item. This will feed back into that. Just as I decided, okay, so we can store a weapon in the car, I'm going to say, okay, let's say I have space in my backpack to carry one extra item. I decided that in my backpack, I might have room to carry a compact ghillie suit. So I could throw this on. Now, do these actually have any effect in the game? Ubisoft says no. Some people think they might. It's something I do intend to test at some point. The point is, I decided my backpack might have room to store a compact ghillie suit or night vision goggles in your backpack. So this is where it feeds back into what I was just saying. I can decide to not wear this helmet if for whatever reason it doesn't fit with my outfit and say, okay, I have night vision goggles packed in my backpack, and that will allow me to use them. Or I can use that imaginary space in my backpack to put that compact ghillie suit. So that kind of adds a three-way kind of balance with how you pack your pack, what you wear in your head, and whether or not you want to have some kind of camouflage. That one was a little more complicated than I thought it would be to explain, so I apologize for that. Okay, we're almost done. There's only a couple more things I want to talk about. Now, all of these things I've been using on this character for immersion, which is just really great. Again, only changing my loadout here at Rebel Outpost, using these weapon restrictions, what I can carry in my backpack, in my car, and which items, which kind of support I can call for, and which kind of vision I can use. All these things have made playing a lot more fun, and these next things are going to kind of finish it off. One viewer suggested, and not just him, I've had other people kind of mention about the kinds of weapons they use. One viewer in particular suggested the idea of using only non-NATO weapons, weapons that don't, that wouldn't drop any kind of casings that could trace back to a NATO country, something like that. Okay, so yeah, you could do that. You could decide to do that because a country like this, the military and availability of weapons here would most likely be, Kalashnikovs. I imagine Unidad would possibly equip the L-85 would be one thing, seeing as how Bolivian Special Forces have used the L-85. So Kalashnikovs, LE5 would be possibilities. What else? The PP-19, which the cartel uses, also the VSN. You would think they would be using mostly non-NATO weapons. But if you look at the weapons that the enemies drop, that's not the case. Unidad's main go-to assault rifle is the R5 RGP, which I think is kind of odd. The cartel uses M4s. The Unidad's main sniper rifle, if I recall, I believe is the MSR. So you could stick to that rule if you want and say, okay, I'm just going to use, like Russian weapons and Chinese weapons. On the other hand, you could look at what the cartel and Unidad are actually using here, and you could say, okay, I'm going to use the PP-19 and an R5, and then I'll use the MSR as my sniper. I mean, you could say that. Or there's another way you could go. You could also rationalize it like this. Some of that ammo is also the most common ammo in the world. Like for instance, 9x19 is, I believe, the most common ammo in the world. So from that standpoint, using an MP5 would actually follow along with that. Anyway, I digress, but you get the point there. So what I'm saying is, so what's my point there? My point there is that you could really go any one of those ways and rationalize it. You could say, yeah, again, you could say I'm going to use obscure weapons, or you could say I'm going to use completely common weapons, or you could say I'm super sneaky and the only bullets I fire, I pick up my casings. But whichever way you choose to go, make that the rule that you follow by. Make that the way that you play. And as long as it feeds into your character and it works for you, then it works. And the last thing I wanted to go over is HUD settings. Different people have different ways that they want to be immersed in the game. Some people find immersion by playing the game super extra duper hard. On extreme, no HUD, etc. Some people like myself, I want a more relaxed style play. I want to relax more when I immerse myself into the game. Now, there's no right way to do it. Some people want to play super hard. Myself, my own point of view, I've already gone 100% on the game. I've put hundreds of hours into it. I've gone through tier mode, and now I want something a little more relaxed. I think that's understandable. So I got a kind of a medium here. I'm running the game on normal difficulty because I actually played some tier last night. A friend and I did we did a few base assaults on tier mode, and it was nice to get some exercise, but then I'm glad when I return to my game back on normal. It feels much better for me. But anyway, some people may want to play with no HUD. Here's my suggestion for some HUD settings you can run. And these work pretty well. I have all the HUD turned off except for a few key things. I do have this on down here, simply so I can see what I'm equipping. You can run without it, but my character would know what he's equipping and would have a sense of what's around him. I believe that right there is totally acceptable. Plus, that disappears after a few seconds anyway. It doesn't get in the way. I have turned off most everything, here, including my crosshair. There's no need to have a crosshair up. It's really best to aim in first person. And I have the mini-map on. And that's what I want to go into here. I'll show you my options and talk about this. All right, for my HUD options, here's the way I've got mine set. I think this is a good setting here. I've gone around on this. I have that on, of course. Otherwise, you can't see what you're choosing. And it only pops up. The stuff I have turned off is the stuff that's always in the way. I have my crosshair off. I had detection clouds off. I have objective markers off, which is this stuff here. I've gone over this in previous videos. I have item location markers off, which is all that crap that clutters up your screen. Basically, I have all the markers off on the screen, but I have my mini map still up. For instance, this ammo box doesn't have an ammo sign over it, but I can see it on my map. Enemies, other things like that may be off, but you can still see them on your map. I think that's a good immersive build. It keeps stuff off your screen, but you can still see it on your map and see it. I also like to keep the map up because I like to have my route, so I'm not constantly going back and forth with my TAC map. However, that goes into a whole bunch of other things. Everyone plays different ways. These are just my suggestions, guys. I found this a really fun way to play. Most of my HUD turned off. I do have the icons over my team's head still here, just so I can quickly pick out where they're at, but you could easily turn those off as well. These are all ideas, guys. But anyway, I wanted to put this video out here because these rules have been really helpful and really fun for me. In particular, my favorites, and I thank you guys for this stuff. Taking the extra weapon in the car, deciding there's extra space in my backpack for one specific thing, or choosing which backpack I use. This has been really, really fun and made my gameplay overall more immersive. Thank you guys so much for the suggestions. I want to continue incorporating these, and so I wanted to make this video. In the next video, I want to go over some more of the comments you guys have put in this series, because there's been so many. A lot of you guys have listed your own loadouts and your own outfit ideas, and so I'm going to be showing those in the next video. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. Tell me what you think about this new revised kind of rules for immersive gameplay. I think it's really, really fun. Tell me what you think. Guys, it's been a real pleasure. I'm Darkdally, and I will catch you guys next time.